So this is a video I stumbled across the other day while I was searching for content for the stream. It's called Trump, America's Last Republican President. And it's actually something I agree with. I honestly think that we're looking towards another like 40-year Democratic rule after Trump's gone. Like, Trump has harmed the Republican Party so bad that I honestly find it really hard to see like Republicans on the world stage, but on the like presidential stage really doing much. But let's get into it, dude, because I know this is gonna be some like civil war, race war, garbage, poo-poo diaper. I'm so sad that we can't legally shoot gays in the throat anymore, sort of like crying from the right. So let's see what we got here.
The only growing and promising job prospects out there in 2020 would seem to be getting on at an Amazon fulfillment warehouse or being a cam girl with an OnlyFans account. The current crisis that's taking the American and most of the world's economy with it, well, it's taking it to a place that would have seemed almost incomprehensible only a few short months ago.
Okay, listen, I see this a lot about like the women are just like cam whores now with OnlyFans. There aren't that many people with OnlyFans, okay? For one. Two, lots of people are getting played with OnlyFans. There are lots of dudes getting mad played with OnlyFans. I would never buy an OnlyFans unless it was like someone I don't know, like a girl that I want to support, but I also think is cute. If we had that sort of like weird relationship, well, not necessarily weird, but if we had that sort of relationship. But like lots of OnlyFans are just like lewds. They aren't even nudes. Like you get more horny bait. There's more horny bait on like random girls' Instagram who just graduated high school than you do on like lots of OnlyFans. It's just like a bunch of girls dressed up as like Raven from Teen Titans. Like, it's just a bunch of girls in like skimpy Halloween costumes. Like, what are you talking? This is OnlyFans. This is a lot of those OnlyFans. Yeah, just go to Pornhub or follow a bunch of girls on Instagram, and I promise you, follow a bunch of models on Instagram, and you'll get more bang for your buck, paying for your internet bill than you would for any chicks like OnlyFans. Well, most chicks OnlyFans, okay? And I don't even care about OnlyFans. The only reason these people bring up OnlyFans is because, for one, they think women have it on easy mode because they can download an OnlyFans and get $1 billion a week because a bunch of like simp dudes want to pay for their like to see like the skin 5 feet away from their vagina, okay? And two, because they just like hate sex work.
Millions of Americans already have lost their jobs due to the current health crisis, and the worst of the damage is yet to come.
Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that we have to go through the lockdown? A genuine question. Whose fault? Because I know it's Donald Trump. It's his fault. We didn't have to do a lockdown like this. There are lots of other countries who are able to do way better. Way better. And not do this crazy draconian lockdown that we're doing right now because they decided to, for one, treat coronavirus seriously. We had Trump saying that, oh, we got 1 case. Oh, we got 2 cases. Oh, there's just 5 cases. Who cares? It's going to go away. It's like the flu, you know? And now it's ripping through the entire country. When you have to go down, we have to lock down. There's mask mandates. We have to shut down people's works, people's, like recreation. So many, we have to change life just so drastically. I feel like people forgot how it's like to live just normally, you know? And it's all Trump's fault. We didn't have to do this. He decided not to refill PPE. He decided to cut the CDC budget. He decided to distance himself from the WHO. He decided to do all of these things that led us to the point where we're at today. Not only downplay the virus like it's the sniffles. He's like, oh, who cares? It's like the sniffles. You know, 1 kid gets the sniffles. Oh, that's a coronavirus case. You know, do stuff like that. But I mean, come on. He had a role to play in this a lot, and you'll never see these people say something like that. Bella Delphine has a big brain. The whole personality she built, 2,000 IQ, money-making person. Oh, dude, she's a money-making machine, dude. She got cozied up to PewDiePie, did the whole bathwater thing, just raking in the dough, just horny bait after horny bait after horny bait. It never stops. It never stops. Okay, like, holy crap, dude. She's like a meme, and she's also like a meme machine too. They pick up on the memes. It's just like, oh, she knows how to make money. She knows how to work it. I mean, and it's I can't fault her for that. I mean, she's a little bit of a liar. Do you remember that thing that she did where she's like, I'm making a Pornhub. If I get this many followers, I'm getting a Pornhub, just farming it. And then it was like Bella Delphine strokes massive cock, and then she's like holding a chicken on her Pornhub for like 5 minutes. You know, terrible. But hey, you know, she knows how to make that money.
The St. Louis Federal Reserve has projected that the economic freeze currently underway could see as much as 47 million people lose their jobs and sending the unemployment rate to past 32%.
Listen, Bella isn't even that hot, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you, Bella isn't even that hot. Maybe a hot take for some of you, she's not that cute.
In addition, there are nearly 67 million Americans working in jobs that are at high risk of layoffs, according to the same analysis. In response to this unprecedented economic fallout, President Trump has recently said that he is suspending immigration to the United States for 2 months in response to the pandemic and the need to protect American jobs. But of course, mass immigration advocates and activists criticized Trump's announcement, calling the move, quote, radical and unprecedented, closed quote.
Immigrants are on the front line of coronavirus response, putting their lives at risk. To make sure our communities are fed, healthy, and safe, the Trump administration needs to stop using this pandemic to implement their xenophobic agenda. Okay, let's take a second, okay? Let's take a second and think about this logically, all right? Trump still has Stephen Miller on the board, all right? And this isn't even an old story. Let me show you a really interesting story, okay? Okay, let me show you a really interesting story. All right. To hit back at this idea that, oh, Trump's actually trying to protect the country and the Democrats are calling him racist. Let's take a look. Okay. This is from the LA Times. All right. There was another article, but I'm not going to bring this up here. And this is under Trump's policy, U.S. plays custody, keep away with migrant children. The Trump administration, during this coronavirus pandemic, has used it as a ploy, as cover for their racist agenda. Oh, 110%. I'll go to the bank on that, okay? Because what they started to do under the cover of night, and as soon as coronavirus started to pick up, they started to deport children and parents separately and alone. They're taking 10-year-old children who come to the border unaccompanied or come with a legal guardian in the United States and deport them back to the country, just alone, just children, mind you. Okay? The Trump administration is not trying to protect the country. The Trump administration is trying to use the coronavirus as a scarecrow to scare migrants from getting into the country.
This includes the failed Democratic presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren, who tweeted in response that the Trump administration needs to stop using this pandemic as cover to implement their xenophobic agenda. Tens of millions of Americans have become recently unemployed, many of them not knowing if they can pay their bills, feed their families, or keep a roof over their head. But
wait, what?
Recently unemployed to implement their xenophobic agenda. Tens of millions of Americans have become recently unemployed, many of them not knowing if they can pay their bills, feed their families, or keep a roof over their head. But still, the leaders of the Democratic Party demand that the doors to America stay open and the country continue to receive a flood of migrants, no matter the situation.
I hate how they say like flood of migrants. What's a flood of migrants? We take in like 1% of our population in migrants like a year or less. We don't take in that many migrants. We really don't. They say like mass immigration, this wave of import the third world, become the third world, sort of like cringe, dude. We don't get that many migrants. We just don't. We're one of the most selective countries when it comes to migrants on the planet, okay? Sweden takes in more migrants than we do on a yearly basis at all points in time. What do you mean flood of migrants? They're just trying to act like we live in DayZ and they're like these mutant creatures just crawling across the border like a freaking zombie pandemic, okay? Like a zombie outbreak or something, and there's like the humble white blonde Americans riding through the freaking back roads in their RV that they have to keep canisters of gas that may expire in the next week to try to make it, okay, while they're just running over like the dead bodies of freaking zombies or like the bodies of walkers, okay? It's not that crazy. They come here, they work in freaking construction or something, they work in call centers, they pay their family, they buy food for their family. Who cares? Who cares? Okay. And the sort of thing like saying Americans and immigrants, like Americans and immigrants. If you come in here and you're working for the country, you're working in the country, for the country, basically, you're providing a service for the country, you're just as much eligible for respect and decency and to be taken as seriously as your average American. Okay. That's just it. We should be protecting people in our borders and outside of our borders as much as we can. Pay their family. Sorry. They get money so they can pay for food for their family. Listen, I know a lot of Mexican families, okay? I know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't question me. Don't question the streamer. So they do that and they're literally just vibing. I don't care. I really don't care. No, an immigrant life isn't worth less than an American life, as much as these people would want to make you believe is so.
No matter the damage.
Oh, also, my bad. There's one more thing I want to comment on this pause, okay? This may be a long video. I completely disagree with his framing to try and make it as like, oh, there's so many people who can't pay for work. They can't feed their kids. So many Americans and the Democrats flood our country with a third world. Whose fault is it that we're not getting more bills through? Question, genuine question. Whose fault is it that we're not getting more stimulus bills through? Okay, can anybody answer this question? Anybody? It's open to everyone. Even you watching right now. Open your heart, open your mind. Whose fault is it that Americans who can't pay for their family, who can't pay to keep a roof over their head, who can't keep the electric on, who are facing getting evicted? Who is it? Yeah, it's only the president's fault when they're a soy boy, a damn cuck. That's true. It's Donald Trump and the Republicans. It's their fault. They don't want to get a new stimulus check through. These people who've been out of work for like ever, all right, who are standing in basically a bread line. We did that story a couple weeks ago, where there's literally bread lines here in Kentucky. There are literally bread lines with people looking for their unemployment benefits because they can't go back to work. They can't pay for their They can't pay for their kids. Okay, they can't keep a roof over their head. They're about to get evicted from their apartment. They can't pay their mortgage. They can't pay for their water. They can't pay for their lights, and they're standing in line, 10-hour lines wrapped around blocks. Because the Republicans and Donald Trump don't care. They're dragging their feet on more stimulus checks to Americans. It's their fault. We could easily pay to keep all of these people at home while we make sure that the pandemic doesn't spread. But we don't, because they don't care. They care more about saving money and getting more money to their benefactors, okay, the corporations that own them, than they are about helping the American people. That's why the majority of the first stimulus check, the $5 billion stimulus check, that, remember those fiscal conservatives that we talked about who were, we have to care about the deficit, the deficit. As soon as this happened, as soon as they had cover to make like to write a couple $1 billion checks to the people who pay for their campaigns, as soon as they had a second, they pulled $5 billion out of they pulled $5 billion out of Lady Liberty's coochie. You know, just whoop. Oh, where'd that come from? What happened to the deficit? Who? Deficit? What? Never heard of her. It's their fault.
It may cause. She and her peers suggest that protecting millions of recently unemployed Americans from even more downward pressures on wages in an unprecedented health and economic crisis, well, that's just xenophobic. But to be clear, this is not insanity. It's not irresponsibility. It is a calculated move that has been in motion since 1965 and will, if things do not change very soon, well, this will make sure that Donald Trump is America's last Republican president, and that for America to become, in a decade or less, a single-party state ruled over by the party of the ass.
That ass. Listen, okay, if the Republicans fail so hard that they have like another 40-year Democratic rule on their hands, listen, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, okay? Sorry that you suck. Sorry you suck that bad. I mean, maybe just get better. Maybe try not sucking as hard next time. Oh, that was only the intro. Yikes.
Before this video begins, I would like to encourage new viewers to subscribe to this channel.
Cringe, we're skipping. Oh, also, what he was referencing in 1965 is, I believe, the Hart-Celler Act. Wait, let me see. Hart-Celler Act. Hart-Celler Act in 1965, the Hart-Celler Act. Yep, that's exactly what he was referencing. Which is basically they just like lifted restrictions on immigration, because people didn't care that much about restrictions on immigration, and people still don't care about immigration that much. They really don't. It's like, I'm not even sure if it's top 5 like major national issues, immigration.
Talk to people from all walks of life, from pilots whose skills may not again be in demand for a generation to restaurant owners who have to close their businesses under strict lockdowns. This crisis is hitting everyone, every individual on the planet at the same time and at the most basic level. People aren't just concerned, but many are looking at the event horizon of a black hole that has become the world economy.
We're going to speed this
they
up.
know instinctively, no matter what their leaders tell them, no matter the contrived claptrap the control media tries to feed them, this time it's different. Fear permeates almost everyone, and that is fear of the unknown future. Thus, given the current level of anxiety, it would seem to even the most hardened observer that to call for a temporary halt of 2 months to the mass immigration into the United States as the politics of xenophobia.
There you go. Mass immigration into the United States. Dog, we take in like 1% of our 1% of our population a year. Okay.
Well, this seems not only absurd, but patently tone deaf. But through the lens of the Democratic Party, it's not. Leaders within the DNC understand that any delay in the transformation of American demographics waylays the eventual majority control they believe their party will gain over the federal government.
Okay. Yep, it's just a great replacement meme. This is what this whole video is. This is what the rest of the video is going to be. A big great replacement meme. It's just I can sum up this entire video for you now, okay? Everything else in this video, I can sum it up for you now, okay? Are you ready? Spark notes. Like you're back in high school again. You're about to walk into freaking English class. You didn't read the chapter that you should have last night. You load up Spark Notes on your phone. You read through the Spark Notes in the Socratic Circle, okay? And the teacher pats you on the back because you pretended that you actually did the work that like half the class didn't do. Here we go. The Democrats want more immigrants because immigrants vote more Democratic, and that means that they're going to change the country, and the whites are going to be a minority, and the blacks and the Hispanics that the Democrats just feed your money, white man, who feed the white man's money into their gullets, who don't work and just are welfare queens. Okay, they just suck up all the resources while the white man toils, and the Democrats can use them to gain ultimate rule over the United States for the foreseeable future, because it's just biology for brown people to vote for Democrats. It has nothing to do with the Republicans being having a policy platform of being racist. It's just they just genetically predisposed to voting for the Democrats. They see blue, they vote blue. Sorry, that's how it works. So this is the entire video. This is going to be the rest of the video. I promise you this. This is it. We can watch a little bit more, but I promise you this is it.
And they may not be wrong. After having been on the losing side of the civil rights movement, the Democrats have transformed as a party to one that no longer sits astride one side of the political compass, but has since 1965 understood that the demographic transformation of America has offered them the opportunity, first to cater, then to foster, and now to create wedges within the...
Oh, true. Wait, we'll get back to what this guy said in a second. Also, true. Listen, half of Hispanics consider themselves conservative, and I think over half of black people consider themselves conservative too. Listen, Hispanic people and black people are very backwards when it comes to like social issues. They're pretty backwards, okay? The only reason they vote for Democrats is because the Republicans just suck that bad. They're garbage. They know the Republicans don't like them. They don't give them anything. They don't want their vote. The Republicans just play white identity politics while screeching that the Democrats at least play identity politics with the other part of the country. And they just thought they could get away with it because the whites are the majority, all right? And if they could just suppress non-white votes in their states, they can just keep winning. All right. And it's just becoming harder and harder to do that as the years go on because immigration is changing and white people don't have kids. All right. This is just what's happening. This is just what's happening. And that's okay. I mean, that's okay. If the Republicans don't want to drift off into obscurity forever, just stop being garbage. It's really not that hard, but apparently for them, it's really difficult.
Then to foster and now to create wedges within the different communities now growing within the United States.
Excuse me, Vabadon, once again, you're banned. Blue is my favorite color. Shut up.
Then to foster and now to create wedges within the different communities now growing within the United States.
The Democrats are the ones creating wedges? Excuse me? Pardon me, sir. Pardon me, sir, but I think it was North Carolina was the one who had to get struck down by the Supreme Court for surgically targeting black people in their voter ID laws. They went through, they took out all the days that black people on the majority voted in when it come to early voting, and when it came to early voting, cut them. They cut all of the IDs that black people mostly used to vote, cut them. They did all of this stuff. They redistrict on a racial level. They looked at everything that they could to make sure black people had less of the ability to vote. Okay. And he's going to say that the Democrats, by like, I don't know, maybe his evidence is by pointing out that systemic racism is real or something, is saying that they're pandering to the right, that's driving wedges between communities. I don't know. I don't understand. Purple is the best color. Cringe.
For a bit of background information, from 1789 until 1965, the immigration policy of the United States was explicitly and deliberately exclusionary to nearly all people who were not European. Small numbers of Chinese, Mexican, and Japanese laborers, for example, were allowed to arrive, but their numbers were cut off with legal instruments like the Chinese
He forgot that black people were here too. He forgot about that.
Exclusion Act. The notion that America from its founding was designed as a nation that should be open to all is ahistorical and is a modern delusion peddled by those with a mistaken belief that a multi-ethnic society comprised of many competing cultural, linguistic, and religious backgrounds can work.
Competing? What do you mean competing? It's just like a bunch of racists getting really mad that people who looks a little different and gets their first language isn't English are here. That's it. And it's always xenophobia. Wait, mind you, did he forget about like Irish people? Did he forget about Irish people? You do know when Irish people came here, they were called like the white N-words. They were like, their windows were smashed like freaking crystal knock. All right. They hated them. Catholics, Russian Catholics. What the heck? Lots of European Jews. They hate them here when the American Nazi Party was around. Holy crap. You're going to sit here and tell me that Europeans were accepted? Absolutely not. This country, for one, was founded for Anglo-Saxons. Didn't the founding fathers write that like the Germans and like the like Italians or whatever were in the Baltics were like freaking swarthy and disgusting and shouldn't be in this country? What are you talking about? But the important thing that matters here is I don't care. I don't care how the country was originally founded. I don't care about how the founders originally wanted their country, okay? Because it doesn't matter how they wanted their country. It matters how we want our country and how they wanted the country. Because it's very different to understand how they wanted their country and how they wanted the country. You think if they cared so much about maintaining a white, because they didn't, if a white majority, they'd write it in. Even if they were, if they wanted to maintain, they wanted to be like a fixture of the United States, to be a majority Anglo-Saxon country, which is what they really cared about back then. You think they'd write that into law? Somewhere in like the amendments or something, somewhere in like the Bill of Rights or something, somewhere maybe even in the preamble, or in any of the articles in the Constitution, would this be an important fact that they wanted to write down, right? They didn't even write slavery into the Constitution, and most of the people who wrote the Constitution were freaking slave owners. George Washington pulled slaves' teeth out. He like ripped slaves' teeth out. I don't know, because they didn't pick cotton hard enough or something. I don't know. These are not necessarily the best people, but there's a difference between what the first Congress wanted and what the founding fathers wanted for their country and how they wanted the country. Jefferson even wrote that saying that we should force our posterity, okay, to live by the same rules we did and make it so they can't change it would be like having a man wear the shirt that he had as a child, right? They wanted the country to change. The country can change. That's why it doesn't matter what they wanted before, how they wanted their country. It doesn't matter. It matters how we want our country, because we can change it. It's ours, not theirs. But these people don't care.
Without something to unify these disparate groups. And this radical change...
True, they died. They're dead. I don't care what dead people want. Well, for a little bit. Maybe for like their like last thing, or maybe what they told me before they died. But outside of that, I don't care what dead people want. They're dead. It's mine. Get away.
Of what America is finds its origin in the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, alternatively known as the Hart-Celler Act, that opened America's borders to the world and forever changed the rules.
These people are oh my gosh, they're so predictable. They're so predictable. They make every single move. How can you restate the same thing in different ways? It's honestly, that's a talent. It's really a talent. It's like going to like an acting school, and they're like, we want you to say these same words, but in different inflections. You're like, where's my toast? Where's my toast? Where's my toast? They just say the same thing over and over again, but in different ways. It's just, like, how many times do you have to get dunked on, dude? Like the definition of insanity is try the same thing over again and expect different results. No one cares. No one cares. You're stupid. All right. Hart-Celler Act. Nobody cared then. Nobody cares now.
Of political engagement in this nation. Political lines are no longer based along ideological lines, on the right-left spectrum, or historically on the north-south divide. Instead, open mass immigration, mostly from the developing world, has created a political arena that is now dominated by the game of identity politics. While, yes, there had been an element of identity within American politics on the tension that could be exacerbated between white and black Americans since the end of slavery, well, the Democrats realized that this was not a growth market. Since 1965, tens of millions of people have flowed into the United States, and they are arriving so rapidly as to...
If the Democrats can easily market off of, I guess, the changing demographics of the country, why can't the Republicans? Why can't the Republicans? Like we said, lots of people who come here are massively conservative. Lots of the people who come here, Guatemalans, El Salvadorians, freaking people from Panama, people from Central America, South America, Mexico, Cuba. They're not really left wing. They're super religious and they're not left wing. They're Catholic. All right. Maybe you don't like the Catholics. Oh yeah. Mind you, lots of people didn't like JFK because he was Catholic. All right. And he was white. Listen, the Republicans just suck. They're just kind of racist. All right. That's why they don't vote for them. I think, honestly, here's my idea of what's going to happen in the future. The Republicans are going to have to massively change because they're going to be made extinct if they keep on the same route that they're going. There's going to be no way that Republicans can win by the route that they're going. They're going to have to change. And what's going to happen is that they're just going to be back to normal because lots of minorities would have to go over. They just have to stop being so racist. And lots of minorities would easily vote for someone like a McCain, vote for a Romney type, vote for a Giuliani type, honestly, I think. I mean, Giuliani was the mayor of New York in the early 2000s. Well, late 90s, early 2000s, I think, more likely. I mean, I'm sorry, you're just too racist for people to vote for you. That sounds like a personal problem.
Change the demographic and cultural balance of the country, which many could argue doesn't matter. Like conservative pundit Ben Shapiro, who said, "I don't give a goddamn about the so-called browning of America. Color doesn't matter. Ideology does." Now, to be fair to Ben, when he says this, he's talking about the United States only, as he's very much in favor of the ethno-state of Israel remaining an ethno-state. But that said, the so-called browning of America...
Oh, no.
very much having an effect on ideology, and more importantly, voting patterns. According to a report from the Center for Immigration Studies, immigrants vote Democrat by a ratio of at least 2 to 1, and this gap is widening. This data is supported by a study from Pew Research, which finds that non-white Americans vote Democrat by roughly a 3 to 1 ratio.
Why? Wait, I want to see if he understands why, and then I guess we can end this video because I want to watch the rest of it. It's really stupid.
This is important only insofar as the vast majority of immigrants since the 1965 reforms were not white, and therefore there is significant overlap between the data sets because they prove the same point. Not only do a majority of immigrants vote Democrat, but so do a majority of their children and their children's children. As it turns out, political affiliation is highly heritable, as Jonathan Haidt notes in his book, The Righteous Mind. Of course, this is not to say that politics is genetic, at least not for the purposes of this presentation, but only that the beliefs and values that underpin a person's political opinions are shaped by their upbringing.
I mean, that's very true. You can still look today. You can look in the deep South, okay, and you can see which counties used to own slaves. And they have very similar voting patterns as they do today. That's actually true. Voting, I mean, you gain a lot of your political ideas from your parents because you live with them through your formative years, obviously. But it's not like people's political ideas can't change. And once again, a lot of these migrants are conservative. They just don't want to vote for Republicans because they're racist to them. That's why. And also, the world is getting more liberal. The struggle of this world has been between conservatives trying to hold us in place and progressives moving us forward. And the progressives always win in time. That's why we are where we are today. That's why we don't have slavery anymore. That's why women can vote now. That's why black people can vote now. That's why we loosened ideas on immigration, because the world just keeps moving progressively. We always progress. And Republicans always fight against that natural course of humanity. And that's why they ultimately lose.